Welcome back to High Stakes. Elevate your game by subscribing to our channel and never miss our daily content. For exclusive access to our premium betting picks, join our Patreon, find the link in the comments section below. Stay ahead with High Stakes. Los Angeles Angels vs Washington Nationals. The Angels have been playing great baseball as of late and are up against a Nationals team that has struggled at the mound recently but has performed well at the plate. Both teams have had poor pitching this season, and I think it is going to come down to which offense can pop off more. The Los Angeles Angels have a .262 batting average against left-handed pitchers on the road this season. With the Angels having the slight edge going against a left-handed pitcher and their era improving at the mound as of late, I have to side with them on the money line as an underdog. I am taking the LA Angels on the money line. The Washington Nationals have an over-under record of 7-3 in their last 10 games. Both offenses have thrived lately due to their opponents' pitchers struggling at the mound. With each team having mound troubles this season, I would expect the trend to continue for both teams' offense to score plenty of runs. Mitchell Parker in particular has had issues lately in his recent starts with a record of 1-2 and an ERA of 5.82 in his last 5 starts. I am looking toward the over with both teams going back and forth and scoring runs. I am taking the over at 9 runs. Baltimore Orioles vs Tampa Bay Rays. The Orioles have had Tampa Bay's number this season. They have won 6 of the first 7 meetings between the two clubs. I think that continues on Friday night with a revenge game from pitcher Zach Eflin leading the way. Eflin was traded from Tampa Bay before the deadline to the Orioles. He has an ERA of 4.47 against the American League East. This will be his first start against the Rays, but he has the skills to shut them down. Tampa Bay is also struggling at home with a .228 batting average at home. They are also hitting .214 versus the Orioles this season. Baltimore's offense has been one of the best as they are averaging 1.5 home runs per game, and they have scored the 3rd most runs. Take Baltimore Orioles minus 1.5 runs. The Orioles have one of the best offenses in the sport, and it is a main reason for their success this season. They have hit the most home runs and they have scored the 3rd most runs. Baltimore is facing Zach Littell, who has an ERA of 4.27 against divisional opponents. He will give up the runs and the Orioles can make an opposing pitcher pay quick. The Rays' offense is facing their former pitcher in Zach Eflin. They should have an understanding of his cadences and make an impact. Take the over on Friday. Texas Rangers vs New York Yankees. Carlos Rodon will tip off the first game of this series against the Rangers. He has pitched well over the last 3 weeks and threw an 8-strikeout performance against the Blue Jays last week. According to Yahoo.com, his fastball velocity was about 1 mph above his season average, and he accumulated 13 swinging strikes on the pitch while throwing it 61 times. I expect him to have another strong performance against a Rangers team dealing with many injuries. Heading into the final game of their series with the Halos, the Yankees have won 8 of 10 and are second in MLB in ops. Take the Yankees minus 1.5 runs. The Rangers are scrambling to assemble a meaningful rotation after a slew of guys went down over the last month. With John Gray groin joining Max Scherzer's shoulder on the IL over the last week, the Rangers are looking for rotation help, and Cody Bradford will make another spot start in this tough game. The Yankees lead the majors in OBP and have swatted 171 home runs. The total has gone over in 10 of New York's last 12 games and 7 of their last 10 at home. Take the over. Oakland Athletics vs Toronto Blue Jays. There is a significant difference in terms of how these starting pitchers have done with their road-home splits. Mitch Spence is 3-3 with a 5.22 ERA and a 1.26 WHIP in 39.2 innings during his 11 road games, 5 starts, while Jose Berrios is 7-2 with a 2.99 ERA and a .217 batting average against in 69.1 innings, 11 home starts. Each team has played 6 games during August, and the offenses are performing on different levels as Oakland is scoring 2.83 runs per game, while Toronto is averaging 4.83 runs per game in that span. Go with the Toronto Blue Jays to win this game as the better bet. The pitching performances of the starters in the last 7 outings show they are going to struggle as Mitch Spence is 3-4 with a 5.30 ERA and a 1.47 WHIP in 37.1 innings, while Jose Berrios is 3-3 with a 5.82 ERA and a 1.45 WHIP in 38.2 innings during that span. These bullpens have been giving up too many runs, as well as the Athletics are 6th with a 3.61 reliever ERA, while the Blue Jays are down at 29th place with a 5.14 bullpen ERA so far. Take over 8.5 runs. San Diego Padres vs Miami Marlins. Perez has been effective versus the Marlins, producing a 3.12 ERA and allowing just 1 run in 4.1 innings during his last start against them. The Padres have won 5 of their previous 7 matchups with the Marlins, including 2 of 3 played in San Diego earlier this season. San Diego has won 3 of their last 4 games against the Marlins in Miami. The Marlins have failed to exceed 3 runs versus the San Diego pitching staff in 7 of their last 8 games. San Diego has a significant advantage on offense in this matchup, ranking high in several key categories, including first in batting average, while the Marlins rank in the bottom half of the league in batting average and other categories. San Diego has excelled while playing away from their home stadium as well, ranking first in road batting average with 2.82 and winning at a 58.9% clip. They have won their previous 6 series on the road, as well as 9 of their last 10 games. The Marlins have been struggling this week, losing 2 of their previous 3 games overall. They have failed to come out on top in their prior 3 series. Miami's pitching ranks toward the bottom of the league in several key categories, including 26th in ERA with 4.52, so look for the Padres to have runners on base throughout the contest. The stats and trends strongly support a Padres victory on the road Friday. Take the Padres. Perez has allowed only 6 earned runs in 17.1 innings of work against the Marlins in his career, and held them to 1 run over 4.1 innings in his prior start against them. Cabrera shut out the Padres for 4 innings and struck out 7 batters in his lone start against San Diego. 5 of the last 6 matchups between these 2 squads went under the run total, with only 17 runners crossing the plate during their 3-game set in May. The Padres have struggled to hit for extra bases at Lawn Depot Park recently, producing a .356 slugging percentage in their prior 6 games there, so they may have trouble scoring quickly in bunches. Padres hurlers have excelled while pitching away from their home stadium, ranking second in the league in ERA with 3.54. Adding to Miami's obstacles to score in this contest, they rank in the bottom half of the league in batting average with .238, so they will have an uphill battle to put runners on base versus San Diego's pitching staff. The Padres are missing their most important bat in Fernando Tatis and outfielder Profar, and shortstop Kim may not be at full strength, as both have been questionable this week with injuries. Most signs point to a lower scoring affair in Miami on Friday. Take under 8.5 run. Houston Astros vs Boston Red Sox. When diving into how the bullpens have been producing throughout the season, there is a bit of a divide here as the Astros are 10th in the big leagues with a 3.70 reliever ERA, while the Red Sox are 19th in baseball with a 4.05 bullpen ERA right now. Even the starting pitchers' home road splits show a bit of a difference here, as Ronald Blanco is 5-2 with a 2.87 ERA and a .198 batting average against in 53.1 innings 9 starts, while Tanner Huck is 4-5 with a 3.08 ERA and a 1.12 WHIP in 76.0 innings 12 starts inside of Fenway Park thus far. Go with the Houston Astros to pick up a win here. When looking at the last 7 outings for both of these starting pitchers, they each are not as sharp as expected. Ronald Blanco is 1-4 with a 4.35 ERA and a 1.14 WHIP in 39.1 innings, while Tanner Huck is 1-3 with a 5.54 ERA and a 1.58 WHIP in 37.1 innings during that stretch. These offenses have been doing extremely well in their 18 games since the All-Star break, as the Astros are scoring 3.44 runs per game, while the Red Sox are averaging 6.5 runs per game. Go with over 9 runs in this game as the better option. Cincinnati Reds vs Milwaukee Brewers. As much as I'd like to take the Reds as the underdog, I have to be a bit more logical in this case. The Brewers are 10 games above .5000 at home this year, while the Reds are below .500 on the road. The Brewers are on a hot streak right now, and they have won 4 of their last 6 against the Reds in Milwaukee and 7 of their last 10 overall. Milwaukee should be on a high after beating the Braves in back-to-back games, while the Reds are recovering from losing to the Marlins in their final game of the series. I don't trust either starting pitcher, but I believe the offense and bullpen of the Brewers will do better than the offense and bullpen for the Reds. Take Milwaukee Brewers moneyline. I like the over in this scenario, as Savale and Spires have had their struggles as of late. I cannot trust Savale to have a solid start as of yet, and in their last 6 meetings, these 2 squads have totaled 9 or more runs in 5 of them. Milwaukee has hit the over in 7 of their last 10 games overall, and the Reds have hit the over in their last 5 in a row. The Reds have one of the worst bullpens in terms of total ERA in the league, and the Brewers are just inside the top 15 in the same category. There is potential for some late inning runs to come on the board, and that's even if the starters have good outings. I trust the offenses of both teams to push across enough runs to hit the over. Cleveland Guardians vs Minnesota Twins. Both Minnesota and Cleveland have struggled as of late, but in the second game of a doubleheader, this is a good spot to take the Guardians to get the win. Minnesota is likely to go with a bullpen game, and although Cobb has not started this season, he was effective last season, while the Twins' bats have struggled against Cleveland's pitching. Even if Cobb can go 4 or 5 innings, this is still a good spot for the bullpen to close things out and get the win. Take Cleveland on the money line. The over is also a good spot in this game, as both Cleveland and Minnesota have been known to hit the overs. This season, the Guardians are 5.6517 in hitting the over, while the Twins are 5.9513 and at home are 2.8223. The Guardians' offense should be able to take advantage of Minnesota's bullpen, while Cobb could have some rust which will help the over hit. Chicago Cubs vs Chicago White Sox. First, let's look at the Cubs' overall momentum this season. While their 57-60 record might not jump off the page, they're still very much in the mix in the NL Central, just 9.5 games back of the Brewers. This positioning means that every game is critical for the Cubs, and they've won 3 of their last 4 games. The Cubs also have an edge when you consider the pitching matchup. Jameson Taillon, with his 7.6 record and a strong 3.25 ERA, has been a steady presence on the mound. His ability to keep runs off the board and navigate through tough lineups gives the Cubs a solid foundation. Moreover, Taillon's consistency this season has made him a reliable bet, especially against a struggling White Sox team that has the worst record in baseball. The White Sox offense has been a weak point all season, and facing a pitcher like Taillon only exacerbates their struggles. Players for the Cubs like Ian Happ, who leads the team with 18 home runs and 64 RBIs, have the ability to provide the crucial hits that can make the difference in a tight game. First, let's consider the over-under records for both teams this season. The Cubs have a season-long over-under record of 5.1624, which leans heavily toward the under. When playing on the road, this trend continues with a 2.5303 over-under record. The White Sox mirror this trend at home with a 2.4312 over-under record, reinforcing the idea that games at guaranteed rate field tend to stay under. This combination of data points strongly suggests that a low-scoring game is likely when these two teams face off. Next, the pitching matchup further supports the case for the under 7.5. The Cubs will be sending Jameson Taillon to the mound, who has been a reliable starter with a 7.6 record, a solid 3.25 ERA, and 86 strikeouts this season. Taillon has consistently kept opponents in check, and his ability to control the game is a key factor in keeping the score low. On the other side, the White Sox will counter with Garrett Crochet, a hard-throwing lefty with a 6.8 record, an impressive 3.19 ERA, and 162 strikeouts. Crochet's ability to dominate hitters with his strikeout power makes it difficult for teams to generate runs against him. Both teams have struggled offensively this season, particularly when facing strong pitching. The Cubs and White Sox offenses have been inconsistent, and given the quality of the arms on the mound, it's unlikely that either team will be able to break out for a big inning. Take under 7.5 runs. Pittsburgh Pirates vs Los Angeles Dodgers. This is a rare spot where I think the best side bet comes with playing the run line on the underdog. I'm going to take a shot with the Pirates 1.5 on Friday night. Neither of these teams is playing their best baseball right now, but I'm not interested in laying multiple runs with the Dodgers, especially at home. They're just 4-7 Sioux in their last 11 games, and they only have 3 multi-run wins over the time frame. Meanwhile, while the Pirates are just 4-6 Sioux in their last 10 games, they've only lost one of those contests by 2 runs. I think Mitch Keller will at least keep his team in this game, if not put the Pirates in a position to win outright. Take Pittsburgh Pirates 1.5 runs. We have a fantastic pitching matchup on the schedule Friday night as Mitch Keller squares off against Jack Flaherty. Keller has been lights out recently, conceding only 7 runs in his last 5 starts. That's a 2.17 ERA over 29.0 innings of work. As for Flaherty, he hasn't allowed a run in either of his last 2 outings, 12.0 IP. Neither of these offenses have been in great form recently either. Pittsburgh is 25th in WRC 94 over the last 14 days, while Los Angeles is 18th 100. During the same 14-day stretch, the Pirates have the 3rd highest strikeout rate, 28.9%, while the Dodgers are 5th, 26.8%. This game greatly favors the pitchers, so I'm jumping on the under at a flat 8.0 runs. New York Mets vs Seattle Mariners. Bryce Miller is expected to start for Seattle. He has a record of 8-7 in 22 starts with a 3.62 ERA, 1.05 WHIP, and a 113/30 KB ratio on the season. Opposing batters are hitting .220 against Miller this season. Miller has been superb at home this year. In 12 home starts, Miller has a 2.27 ERA, 0.93 WHIP, an 80/17 KBB ratio, and opposing batters are hitting .191 against him. The Mets have a good batting lineup, but Miller has been excellent at home. Seattle will win this contest. Take Seattle on the money line. Seattle has been poor on offense this season. They are in the bottom 10 or around the bottom 10 in the league in runs, hits, RBIs, strikeouts, batting average, OBP, SLG, and OPS. Bryce Miller is expected to start for Seattle. Miller has been superb at home this year. In 12 home starts, Miller has a 2.27 ERA, 0.93 WHIP, an 80/17 KBB ratio, and opposing batters are hitting .191 against him. Jose Quintana is expected to take the mound for the Mets. Quintana has allowed 3 earned runs or less in 13 of his last 14 starts, and he faces a weak Mariners lineup. The under will hit in this contest. Take the under, 7.5 runs. Detroit Tigers vs San Francisco Giants. These two teams don't often meet in the regular season, but when they do, it's surprisingly the Tigers that have the advantage, with a 3-game sweep in their meeting back in 2023, leading to a 7-3 record in their past 10 head-to-head encounters. However, it's the Giants that come into this one with all of the momentum, posting a 103 mark in their past 13 games, as well as a 7-2 record in their past 9 games played at home, and with Robbie Ray continuing to get back to his previous form. Expect them to continue cutting the gap in the NL wildcard race. Take San Francisco minus 1.5 runs. Despite the lineups being the strength of both these clubs, when they do battle, it's the rotations that have the upper hand, with the under sitting at 7-2-1 in their past 10 meetings, with an average of just 6 runs scored per game in their last series in San Francisco. For the Tigers, the under sits at 6-4 in their past 10 overall games, with just 2.8 runs scored per game over that stretch. And for the Giants, the under sits at 4-6 over that same stretch, with just 21 runs allowed in their past 9 games played in San Francisco. Keep it simple. Take the under.